Welcome back and thanks for joining us. We're still on the POLITY, reaching you live from the nation's capital, and now we'll be discussing bridging the gap between the federal government and the state government of Nigeria. But then joining us in the studio today is none other than Dr. Sulaiman Abdullahi, policy analyst. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Fine.
I would like to just delve into it properly, but then I can't but ask how the economy is treating you right now in Nigeria.
We're fine. We have to have a way out.
Okay, all right. Someone said we Nigerians, what word is endurance? We know how to endure a lot. How true is that?
You see, an average Nigerian have a way out whenever he's in problem. And our solid remain prayer. So we'll see if the prayer is working or not when we get there.
When we get there. All right then, speaking about bridging the gap between the federal government and state government, most of the papers this morning, national dailies, they stated that of course NLC wanted to go on strike as of Tuesday, but now they've given the federal government 30 days ultimatum, correct? And now, for them to give the federal government 30 days ultimatum, the federal government had to spell out some certain things they would do, and that's putting 35,000 naira or adding 35,000 naira to the salaries of the Nigerian workers. But then now, most of the state governments are borrowing money to even pay salaries, and it looks like there is no synergy between the federal government and the state government. Who is to hold accountable for this?
You see, Mercy, if I will start this our interaction today on this topic, it's quite an interesting one. You look at the synergy between the federal government and the state government. The synergy there is that when it comes to collecting money from federal government, they have a very good relationship between the state and the federal government. The synergy is fantastic, interesting, and very accommodating between the two of them. But when it comes to how to spend in the interest of the citizen, it becomes a very difficult task. You see, now they want to fall apart between the two of them. Why? Because the states are not yet responsible states. When I tell you states are not yet responsible states, we have some leaders at the state that are not responsible when it comes to the issue of money. When it comes to project execution, where do they lay their, where emphasis should go? Where do they give attention to? You look at it. Is it that they didn't sit with the government, with the federal government, to look at what they can do? The federal government have put it into calculation. This is what we are giving the state at the end of every month. From what we are giving them, we know quite all right they will be able to execute 1, 2, 3 projects and carry these issues along.
Yeah.
Then what is their problem? What are the state complain of? Now let's look at it. The issue will go back to what? The corruption at the state level today, if you look at it, is even higher at the federal government level. That is why the moment the federal government come up with any policy that will have to carry the state along when it comes to expenditure in the interest of the citizens, you see the governors crying wolf. You see them shouting and going back, giving all sorts of excuse. Let's take, for example, during President Muhammadu Buhari, he gave them a bailout.
Okay.
They are all happy to collect those bailout. Most of the states have not yet paid. Some of the bailout were write-off. Was just like, look, we give you as a palliative measure, take it. What do they use the money for? You see, it will be in the interest of our nation that, look, even if the governors have their autonomy at the state level, they have their immunity, but still yet there should be a mechanism that if you're coming to collect money from the federal government, there should be a mechanism to monitor how you spend them, and you should give accountability of the money the federal government gives you. If the state government, with that, this is our internal revenue generated fund, and we spend it at our own peril, in our own way, the way we like it, and nobody gives account, nobody come to ask us about how we spend it. This money that comes from the federal government every month, then let also federal government ask them, how do you use it, spend it. Look, I have been clamoring for one thing. If we want to establish a good relationship between a synergy in terms of money and the expenditure and money they collect from federal government, how they execute projects, how to spend it, we should have one thing. Every state, you come to collect money this month, you must publish one page in one national dailies and local daily how you spend that money. Let's see the balance sheet of that money. This is what I use in paying salary, this project, this. Bring it out, let everybody see it. You came last month to collect about 25 billion naira from federal government. The following 30 days, you are coming back and you collect another 30 billion naira. And you are crying that, look, you are owing money. What do you do with the money? The federal government should also start asking, what are you using the money for? If the governor say we have right that, look, we should join account together, the state government and the local government, and this is what we are giving the local government, and you monitor what we give the local government, let the federal government also monitor what they give for you.
But you know, there is little to what the federal government can do, because the federal government cannot be everywhere, of course. So are we trying to say that these governors cannot be held accountable for things that is happening in their respective states?
How will this, what are the mechanisms put in place to hold these governors accountable if they are not responsible in their spending? Look, this is one of the major tasks of democracy. The legislature should sit down and look at it and act a law whereby this we should be forced to have whatever police how they spend their money. I have the right to look at what the government, how the federal government is spending the Nigerian money. It's our taxes, our money. I have the right to see how is my state spending its money. I voted for the governor. You voted for a governor. It is your right for the governor at the end of every month or every quarter, let them publish, and let's look at it, a balance sheet of the money within the last quarter. Yes, if you say you have spent, EFC don't need to go to the state. That balance sheet is enough for EFC to see, ICPC. Let's look at it. There instantly at the end of every quarter, we will look at the governor that is being sincere and those that are not sincere. If you are owing, what have you used the money for? You borrowed for what? How much did you spend as salary at the end of every month? What are your infrastructure projects, social projects that you are executing within the state? Have you gone with it out of your budget? What are your calculated measures that you went to borrow money? How do you intend to pay them off?
To pay them off, yeah.
If in the first place, the money you borrowed, you want to use for which project? Is it project that will bring back money to you as a governor? Are you investing it? If you are not investing this money, is for infrastructure, road and other things, then you look at it before you go. How do you intend to pay this loan? Are you creating a problem for the incoming government? If that is not the case, then let's look at how do you intend to expand the scope of your internal generated revenue.
Speaking about internal generated revenue, don't you think the issue of continuity is still part of what our problem is in Nigeria? Because we have a certain government come and promise and everything and start a particular project, and then the next government comes in and start a new project entirely without finishing that. I mean, a lot of money have been put into the previous projects, yeah, but then we lack continuity.
If you are talking of continuity, in what aspect of our life? Where are the projects? You said you borrowed 26 billion, 30 billion, exactly. 50 billion.
But you don't finish that project.
Where in the first place? I mean, where in the project? You started with what? Then the money you collect from federal, what do you use it for? For party? For celebration? You see, in fact, at state level, the problem we have at the federal government here is that, look, most Nigeria always focus on the federal government. They have forgotten that, look, they are the state are accountable to those at the grassroots. And the grassroots have to look up to the state. What did you collect last month? How did you spend it? How many workers did you have? And how much are you paying your workers as salary? What is remaining after collecting your monthly subvention from the federal government? Then what are you using the balance for? Let's have a balance sheet and see how you run the state. The state is not for the governors. They equally have a right to tell the citizen at the state level, this is how we spend this money. And from this allocation, this is what goes to the local government.
Yes.
This is what we spend in salary. This is what they have their security vote. No, nobody asks them how they spend it. But this money is for the citizens of that state. As in Nigeria, you must give them account of how you spend this money and how you get this money. If not, my sister, we are not going anywhere. Because it's a party, and continuity for party. You get to Abuja, collect your monthly subvention, you go back there, you sit down, share it the way you want it, next month you know another one is coming. Then where are we going? You can even abandon a project. I said, look, this project, leave it for the next 6 months. I know I'll be getting the subvention is coming monthly. Okay. So the moment you get it, you do whatever you want with the money. But if you are to give a balance sheet of what you spend and how you spend your money on monthly basis or every quarter, I'm telling you, the accountant general of the state, the auditor general of the state, the governor will have to sit down and look at it, how they try to balance sheet. If they are balancing the sheet, it must be logical in whatever the penny they are spending. You must convince the people that lose where I put your money. It must be convincing. If not, I'm telling you, if they try to mess up with such a publication, within the next 3 publications, the state themselves will rise against the governor. Then if you look at it, ask all these trade unions, the NLC, do they have how the governors at the state level, do they know how the governors spend their money? And if when it comes to only salary, they start making noise. And apart from that, don't you think all these unions of, okay, the NLC, the TUC, and then, of course, we have the Nigerian Forum of Governors, don't you think those particular set of people should have been involved in, of course, the conversation between the federal government and NLC or TUC, or you think it was just a rush because, oh, we don't want those people to go on strike, so it wouldn't affect the economy? You see, if you are looking at synergy from that perspective, the point you are mentioning is a very good one, because you should have carried the state along. Yeah. So the state will tell them this is our problem. Actually, we cannot run away from it. The state have their own problem at the grassroots. They deal direct with the grassroots. If you are talking about federal government and civil servant are talking about what? Federal civil servant. Servant, yes. But when you are talking about the state, they have their own psychological way of spending and getting money within the state that is best known for those at the state level. Because the workers at the state level look at those at the federal level as, look, you are a king. Because if you look at the infrastructure in the offices at the federal level, it's not compared to what you have at the state level, it's quite different. Because a director at federal level, you're quite sure you know he's more relaxed and more taken care of than the directors at the state level. Even the packages are not the same. You look at this director at the state level with a one-car rickety car, and when you come to the federal level, you look at him with a very good car and a driver. So what we are trying to say here is that, look, at this point, when you are negotiating with all the trade unions, you're supposed to carry the state government along. Let them report back to the governor and, look, this is where we are going to. At the end of the day, you are going to pay this also amount to your workers. But let's look at it together. The palliative measure we are taking and the increase in salary is because of the removal of subsidy from the fuel. Fuel subsidy. If that is the case, the monthly subvention of the states have also increased. So why are they shouting? What is their problem? You have to increase salary. We have increased your monthly subvention, maybe with 5 billion naira or 10 billion naira. What are you saying? Can you use 5 billion to pay salary? You still have some money, because the nucleus organ of what? Of government at state level are the salary earners. At that level, what the salary they get, they receive, is what that will trickle down to those at the grassroots. To the state level, everybody have a child in the primary, secondary school, have old people to take care of. They have extended family to say, look, take. And they look up to you when you are a director, you become a senior citizen at that state. Then what are we saying? If you said you cannot make these people happy, then it will have a serious impact on the entire population of that state. I believe that our governor should be responsible enough to look at things from the perspective of being a leader, not as an opportunist. Because all what they are calculating, most of these governors, is that, look, I have 4 years to spend, at large I have 8 years if I've been blessed to spend, and what mansion did he want to build, the empire he want to build after these 8 years? What type of wealth did he want to accumulate? But is this all about governance? I will tell you no. All about governance is not what you have eaten, what you have wear as clothes, what you have amassed as wealth.
Okay.
It's the life of people you have. How many people have you turned around their life? You have touched their life. What have you turned around in your state? What legacy have you are you leaving behind as a governor? You want history to speak for you? In the book of history within your state and as a federal government at the federal level, what record do you want to make for yourself? This is what we are looking for. This is what we talk about governor leadership. This is what we talk about responsible governance. The moment the instrument of power comes into your hand, it is don't look at how you make money for yourself, your family, your wife, being the first lady, you change her car, or all this sort of. That is not the case. Change her wardrobe, the next thing is going to Dubai with lieutenants of people going to Saudi Arabia or Israelite for. That is not governance. It's not all about beauty, fancy, and party here and there, then and whining and calling friends and all to take congratulations. I'm telling you, if you give me an appointment today, it's not an issue of congratulations. Tell them to stay there, pray for me, give me serious, good advice that will be an effort, a power for me that will steer me to greatness when it comes to leadership, and advise me what should I do, how to excel as a leader. How will I rule? Fine. So that the people will be able to say, look, by every standard, I have done my best. Not for me to buy the expensive car from China, from USA, from Japan, and keep them in Maitama, and I go to state. After a weekend, I'll be coming back to Abuja for weekends, to spend weekend. I will be going to Transcorp Hilton. It's nonsense. Sooner or later, you'll be out of that system within 8 years. Let me tell you, if you talk about great leaders, up to today, if you go to Kanu, let me say, if you go to Kanu, you're going to hear about Aminu Kanu. If you go to this state, Imo State, the former Anambra State, in the olden day, you hear about Mbakwe. Up to today, if you go to Lagos, you hear about Tinubu, Lagos. Look, these are leaders that have done their best. If you go to Benue State, you still hear about Apaku. You see, these leaders have put things in place, and they have written their name in the golden book of history within the state and at the federal level. Let me tell you, if our leaders want to be responsible at the federal and state level, the issue of synergy is not what matters to us today.
Okay.
Within the state and the federal level.
All right.
As a leader at the state level, you are the chief executive. Chief executive of the state. Okay. You are the commander-in-chief of the state. You are the chief security officer of the state. You have the final say. You appoint all those that have to be appointed at the state level, and those that have to are just like those that have been appointed at the federal level. Then what synergy do you want? If you are responsible within the span of your operation, within the constitution of the state, you look at it, sit down, this is what I have, this is my security vote, this is what goes to what, in fact, this is what goes to salary. You pay salary, what do you need to do again? After paying salary, what is remaining? What aspect of the people of the state did you give priority to? Is it education? Is it security? Is it health? You still have these things. Rome is not built in one day, in a year.
Okay. I like that you mentioned that part, because I like to link it up with our next topic, speaking about health and education. I'd like to start with the health part first. Of course, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu submitted 4 names to the House yesterday, and then they went through the screening, and unfortunately one of them slumped yesterday, but then they've actually confirmed that that said person is going to be a minister, of course, because he's a candidate of Governor Nasiru El-Rufai, that's, I beg your pardon, ex-governor of Kaduna State. Which begs the question, Our guest this morning said something about in a sane climate, you have people actually go through health check and all of that before you even go through the screening itself. So in Nigeria, it looks like you just go there, submit your certificate, even if there's still going to be lots of back and forth about your certificate to start with. Now, let's not even talk about health. Do you think there should be proper screening? Not just, I mean, if you are fainting at the at screening, what happens when you get into office? But then someone said something which I totally agree with. It could have been anybody. But then the major catch is there was no doctor whatsoever on ground. From the videos that circulated on the internet yesterday, we saw where the Senate president was asking for salt, water, and sugar to actually administer. Nobody could prefer solutions or first aid to. Are you trying to say the whole sitting Senate could not administer first aid to someone that slumped and let's thank God he didn't die? Of course, he's been confirmed. But then the question is, speaking about health, did he have to get to that level? Why don't we have medical practitioners at every given point? I mean, it's only normal if they are sitting and they have a medical practitioner on standby. It could have been anybody, whether young or old.
Quite interesting. You see, this is where we have a gap in the National Assembly. That will tell you, in the 21st century, we are still operating as if we are in the 90s. Did they have a standby ambulance? Anybody can slump and fall down. They're supposed to have, within that chamber, they're supposed to have a current doctor, serving doctor, medical doctor, in that chamber, with two supporting staff, with a stretcher and an ambulance, in case of emergency. Because let me tell you, those that are there, they are senior citizens. No, hardly you see people below the age of 40 in the upper chamber. They are 50 and above. Because of issue, long time sitting and other issues can shoot up your blood pressure.
Blood pressure.
You could have a heart attack. It could be anybody there. Not those that came for screening. Then what will happen? They will be asking for salt and water and sugar. Is it diarrhea? You see, they're just making fun of the whole thing. That is why we have failed to develop and grow. In every aspect of life, at the 21st century, you must have everything at the tip of your finger. The moment you press a button, the doctor is there, the ambulance is there, this lady will be rescued. The next thing, she is in the National Assembly hospital or the state hospital. It should be within 5 minutes. All what I'm saying, a doctor is already attending to her. But now, if they listen to all, the next day you see them budgeting 30 billion naira for your office of the doctor in the upper chamber, ambulance, 5 billion naira. You understand now? This is
you think every avenue, everything in Nigeria is an avenue to loot money?
That is, I'm telling you the truth. Don't be sincere. If we are being sincere with ourselves and they know what they are doing at that level, with all those people there with their qualification, their experience, and their level of involvement in governance, they don't know they're supposed to have an existing latest ambulance within their premises at the tip of their fingers. They don't know they're supposed to have a doctor, a specialist that will be there for them. In fact, the first thing that, look, let me tell you, every day in the morning, they are supposed to confirm and check their BP before they go to enter that chamber.
I'm sure they probably do that, and we do hope that this, because even the journalists...
Let me tell you, we're talking about this lady that slump. It should be a process before they go for any screening. A doctor should attend to them. Because there is what we call, in public speaking, anxiety.
That's correct.
A nominee is going to face the Senate. She has not faced a crowd like of that nature, of that magnitude. You are talking about 91 senators seated before her. And these are even like her fathers and grandfathers. Her teachers and lecturers are there. And she's going to meet them. Let me tell you, in Africa we are all Africans. Some of them are not just sitting there with ordinary eyes. Some of them are looking at you, but generally looking at you, they intimidate you, they know what are you saying? But looking at you, you start even to purge if you are not serious. Because let me tell you, there are some questions they will ask you. Look, as you are going, if that lady is not confident of herself, by seeing that crowd, I'm telling you she will faint. Her BP will jump up. And
the said man is the former, he's the SSG of Kaduna State, Balarabe. So I feel like he should have actually gone through a lot of...
SSG, I'm telling you, state level is quite different from federal level.
Federal level.
That is why I am saying, the moment you are screening these people, let them have a standby doctor confirm one or two things there.
And apart from screening, shouldn't there be a report? I mean,
medical report, check. Look, let me say, if you say, look, come with your health check, anybody can play around with it and toy around with it. You can go to anywhere and put it. You can even go to London and say, look, this medical check from health facility from UK, from US. You can get from National Assembly, from this National Hospital, or any of the federal medical centers. But what I'm saying here is that you are coming for a screening. The first 10 minutes, go in there, let the doctor check you. There are some preliminary checks you do. Your BP, your sugar level, everything, test it. When last, you can even have a malaria test and typhoid test.
Typhoid test, right.
Within 5 minutes, these things are down. We will check you, how stable are you mentally. We have those instruments to check. Is this person mentally okay? You know, so let me tell you, we will put you to test. We have some cases whereby we have to test your fitness, because as a minister of Federal Republic of Nigeria, you can represent this country in any gathering worldwide. We have to test your eloquence. We have to test your personality, your charisma. We have to test how you can stand and deliver. You have to test run your mental ability. We can even tease you by giving you a kind of funny question that will lessen your emotional feelings.
Yeah.
How you react. So all these things are supposed to be part of what the senators are screening. If these things are not there, believe me, we are joking. Because the problem there is not bringing somebody with certificate. Yes, from this state, this person nominated him, is okay, now we are going there. But after giving him the assignment with that portfolio, and he need to now, if she cannot stand before the Senate of Nigeria, then how can she present Nigeria in the at UN level, at global level? When you have Committee of Nations, everybody is coming with his best from the nation, and you say, this is my minister coming to represent Nigeria here, and she cannot stand. You see, this is the problem we have in this country. Let me tell you, we need to look at the people we are giving appointment, their viability. How viable are they in every standard of living? How do they reason? How do they work? What are their emotional intelligence? What are their psychological feelings about Nigeria? You have to test run them from one angle to the other as a senior citizen, because you are transforming them from ordinary citizen to a real citizen that are going to represent you in anywhere, anytime, globally. Then what are we saying? If somebody is slumping, look at somebody slumping here. That says that this person is not prepared.
But okay, I like the fact that you mentioned anxiety, because that was the excuse I gave this morning, that some persons cannot face lots of crowds and all of that, and even some persons would think they are actually prepared.
If you cannot that shows he's not qualified.
But you can actually prepare, and you can never be too prepared for all of these things. You can get up there and think, oh, it's easy for me to get stuck.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
If you are going for exam, you say you have read all through the night, through the day, and you are really prepared for the exam, and you went to the exam and you fail, and you say you read for the exam and you don't know what happened during the examination period, and you couldn't write what you are supposed to write, you couldn't understand the question, and there you failed because of anxiety or wanting. That should not prepare. Working on anxiety is part of the preparation for examination. The tension you are going to face, that's why we call examination. That's why we call it screening. You have to prepare for everybody. You have to be emotionally balanced. Psychologically, you have to be balanced. Health-wise, you have to be perfect. You have to be okay. But then all the challenges, You are expected along the line. You have to prepare for them.
But now, in the midst of all of these challenges, he's been nominated, and then it's passed the screening part. So what next? Now looking at it, do you think it was approved based on emotions and all of that? Because I mean, he only got to introduce himself and say a few things about himself before he's
The problem here is that if he has been cleared, we here we temper most of the time. We temper justice with mercy.
With mercy.
This is why we are Nigerian. This is why we are special species. So if that's the case, for him to have slumped, you understand now, yes, he has been timid, the level of anxiety, you understand now, so good and fine. He knew quite all right the task ahead of him. We can also turn the table around and say, okay, let him go.
Let him go.
Because the animal's task before him, he is mindful of it. That is what led to the condition he found himself. So let's let him go.
I like the letting it go. So we're looking forward to him doing something as a minister. Let's just ignore the fact that he slumped. It could have been anybody. And then I do hope the Senate obviously do something about putting a medical practitioner on ground, because he could have been anybody. And I mean, he was not the only one that slumped yesterday. We had a journalist, may still rest in perfect peace, who slumped yesterday, of course, and he died on the spot before he got to the Senate clinic. But then let's just hope something is done ASAP. Well, our viewers at home, today is World Teachers Day, and we cannot but talk about that, because without the teachers, we would not have any society right now. So today we'll be analyzing their major impact in the society, and then it looks like for our government, we have the issue with going back and forth between lecturers and the federal government. We do hope that is, of course, sorted out soon, and where we do not have where ASU goes on strike anymore. But then, I'd like to push the question to you. Do you actually think we actually, let me use the Gen Z word, do we rate teachers in Nigeria?
Teachers, God bless my teacher. I don't know about your teacher.
God bless my teacher.
Yes, God bless my teacher. Let me tell you, in primary school, whenever I see my teacher on the road, anywhere I see him along the street, I will run to him and kneel down and greet him. Even when I was a university student, my teacher will pass by our compound. He will see my mother and ask her, how is Sulaiman doing? She will have to explain to him my level of education. I'm doing this, the progress we are making. Good and fine. In Abuja, one of those days, I saw my primary school teacher. I ran to him. And I greeted him. He said, who are you? I said, I'm so person. Oh, wow. But the emotional feeling that the situation I found him that time, he is not comfortable with it, and I'm not comfortable. I have to make him happy and realize he's my boss. He made me who I am.
Who you are. Okay, please, can you kindly hold that thought while we quickly go on this break? When we return, we'll continue with World Teachers Day and the role of educators in our immediate society. Stay tuned to Touchdown.